Today is Wednesday, Parashat Tzav, 1 week exactly before Pesach. We're all involved in preparing for the holiday. Of course, we're all getting rid of any chametz that we have, cleaning in the house and making sure that we don't have chametz in our possession. Because chametz that is owned by a Jew during Pesach becomes forbidden after Pesach to benefit from. And therefore, if there is any chametz that you're not getting rid of, if you have a large quantity of some food that is chametz, you can sell it to a goy. The transaction has to be done according to halacha, and therefore, typically, you make a rabbi as an agent to sell it on your behalf. And we do have forms here at the synagogue that can be filled out, and then I do it through the Bittan, through the rabbinic court, where that chametz that is set aside in your house should be closed in a way that you're not going to going by mistake to open that area or that closet. And once it's set aside and closed, so it's not accessed on Pesach, you can sell it before Pesach, and then it's reacquired again after the holiday is over. So that's in preparation for Pesach. That's one of the things that we do now. Pots and pans that have been used throughout the year have absorbed chametz and therefore cannot be used during Pesach. So there is one of two approaches: either to have a separate set of dishes, pots and pans for Pesach, or to kosherize the ones that you own. If something is made of metal and it's a pot and you've used it by cooking in it, you can purge the chametz from it by doing hag'ala, which is dipping it in hot boiling water. And same thing will go also for cutlery that can be also kosherized for Pesach, to make sure that it's done in the proper manner. That the water has to be really, really boiling, and the halachot for those are specific. We can go through them. If somebody needs to kosherize something by purging, I could direct them in terms of how it's done. If something was not used with hot but just cold, it's enough to wash it with cold water and make sure that there is no residue that is left on it. And ovens also have to be kosherized for Pesach. You put it on a self-clean mode, or put it on the highest setting for an hour or two, so that make sure that whatever chametz is in there gets totally burnt. And of course, to clean it very well to make sure there is no residue there that needs to be taken off before you even kosherize it. And the other aspect is not to use it for 24 hours before you kosherize it. Now, if you bought new pots, new pans, new kelim, new vessels, and you bought them from a goy, a non-Jew, or they were manufactured by a non-Jew, they were in the possession of a non-Jew, when you bring them into your home to be used, then you have to do tevilat kelim first. Tevilat kelim is taking the kelim to a mikveh of kelim, to make sure that there is no interposition between the keli, the vessel, and the water. So if there are any labels, they need to be removed, and there should be no glue still left on there. So you need to clean it well, and then dip it in the mikveh, so that all of it is dipped is surrounded by water. So you have to make sure that there is no air bubbles, like not to put it upside down, where there would be an air bubble that would not let the water touch all the areas of that vessel. And there in the neighborhood here, there are two mikvaot of kelim specifically for dipping the kelim into the mikveh. Then another thing to remember this year is Eruv Tafshilin. Since we're going to go from a holiday into Shabbat, Shabbat comes after the holiday of Pesach. The first days will be Thursday and Friday. And the idea is the holiday, the Yom Tov cannot prepare for Shabbat. It's as if the holiday is a king and the Shabbat is a king also, and one king cannot serve the other. So before the holiday of Pesach starts, we have a plate that has in it food. You could put a matzah, hard-boiled egg, some food that you're preparing before Pesach starts. And you set it aside, put it in the refrigerator to be used on the day of Shabbat. And by putting that aside for Shabbat, you've started the cooking and the preparing for Shabbat even before the holiday starts. And that would allow you, it's on Friday, to prepare food for Shabbat since you started it already before the holiday. There's a bracha that he said when you set aside the eruv, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kideshanu mitzvotav tzivanu al mitzvat eruv, who commanded us for the mitzvah of eruv. That should be done really by every person, every family. But the rabbi of the community, I do it on behalf of the community. I do the eruv, I set aside eruv on behalf of everybody in the community, is to make sure that everyone does it in whatever they would prepare on Friday would be acceptable to prepare for Shabbat. That food cannot be eaten on the holiday. You have to wait until Shabbat to consume it. And that's the mitzvah or eruv tashilim that is applicable when a holiday of Pesach happens just before Shabbat. Then there's going to be bedikat chametz next Tuesday night, after the house is already clean, and as soon as it gets dark, using a candle, you're going to go through the house and search for any place that maybe some chametz was forgotten. Before we start the bedikat chametz, we put 10 pieces of bread or chametz wrapped in paper very well, so it doesn't, some of the crumbs don't go and be left in the house, so that we gather these 10 pieces of bread as we go through the house, and we search for the chametz. Any chametz that is found, that's the time to get rid of it. So it's a bracha that is said before we start dikat chametz, al biur chametz, which means on getting rid of the chametz. And the bracha is Baruch atah Hashem tzivanu al biur chametz. After we finish the bdikat chametz, there is a kal chamira, the kabir shuti. There is a statement that you say. They say any chametz that is in my possession that I didn't see or I didn't get rid of, it should be nullified and void like the dust of the earth. Then the next morning, which would be Wednesday morning, by 10:15 we should stop eating any chametz. And by 11:35 we have to burn whatever chametz was left in our possession. Now that chametz needs to be in smaller pieces so that the fire consumes it well. And any chametz that, let's say, not able to burn, maybe a big loaf of bread or something like that, you can pour over it some Clorox or some gasoline, something to make it not edible even by a dog. And then, just throw it in the garbage. It's no longer considered to be chametz. The burning of the chametz should be done before 11:35, and after that, after the burning, there's again a statement that you make. Kal chamira, the kabir shuti, the chaziteh, la chaziteh. Very important that you understand what you're saying. So if you don't understand the words that are being said, it's a good idea to repeat it in the translation of the language that you understand, whether it's French or English. And basically what it says, any chametz that I saw or I didn't see, that I got rid or did not get rid of it, should be nullified and void and like the dust of the earth. And that by making it sort of like nullified, you've covered yourself in case there was some chametz that you may have not gotten rid of. It's considered to be like the dust of the earth. And then on the day of Erev Pesach, for sure not to eat any matzah. Next Wednesday, not to eat any matzah during the day, because you want to eat matzah with avon, with appetite in the evening. So some people eat matzah ashira, which is matzah that is made with fruit juices and or with eggs. So that is a type of matzah that is not used to fulfill the mitzvah of achilat matzah at night, and therefore that could be consumed if you wish during the day. So these are some of the ideas that we have as we get ready for Pesach. And if there are any questions, you can always text or call so that we're able to answer, God willing, this holiday that has so much preparation for it and so many questions that come up, especially on what are you allowed to consume during Pesach or not. In general, yes, we buy items that have kosher le Pesach stamp on them, but there are many, many items that even though they don't have kosher le Pesach stamp on them, but just they are kosher, if they're purchased before Pesach, not during Pesach, for Sephardim it would be acceptable. Such things that have no chametz in them, that the concern is maybe a little chametz got mixed in there. If it's less than 1:60 ratio, it's nullified before Pesach and doesn't come back alive, so to speak, when Pesach starts. We published in our newsletter a link for a list of such items that even though they don't have a kosher Pesach stamp on them, but since they're kosher, some of them are definitely acceptable for Pesach. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.